the type of programming that I'm watching now, Willie. You know, this news, I will not watch it anymore. I haven't watched it since May. Like, don't get me wrong. I'll go on to get the bullet points, and then I'm out. I'm watching
Yep.
Everybody Loves Raymond and MASH and Sanford. It's anything I could do to laugh.
Do you have Me TV?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean it's heaven. I love the Rifleman. I've fallen in love with the Rifleman show. And in the morning when I wake up, and it's not even corny. I thought it was a corny joke, but Leave It to Beaver is fantastic.
Oh,
I don't know the
absolutely.
last time you saw an episode of Leave It to Beaver. It's actually pretty real and funny. It's great, and I mean, I watched an episode where they Beaver and his friend Lumpy were smoking a pipe. They were dealing with kids smoking.
Oh
I
my
thought the
God.
show was supposed to be much cornier than it. I love it. I love it.
You know what amazes me about shows like that? They weren't on the air for that very long, and they're in like we had Jerry Mathers on the show a few times. He's a great guest,
Yeah,
and I think it's in like 150 different countries right now. It's
amazing,
shown more now than it was when it was first
amazing.
run.
Well, I mean, the most famous one is the Honeymooners. I think there's 32 episodes or something of the whole
Yeah,
show.
if I had to rate the sitcoms in order, Honeymooners is number one. Never Be Another Honeymooners. Everybody Loves Raymond. I thought that show was brilliant,
Amazing
and
show.
All in the Family, which
Amazing
they could
show.
never put on the air today if it was aired. But they just did so many
Amazing.
different things. And
It's an amazing show. It broke a lot of ground, and um, it's weird because it should be put on the air today because they were really making a point. It wasn't that they were saying this is a good way to be. They were making a point by having a character like that. So yeah, those are all terrific, and I'm very friendly with Everybody Loves Raymond. I'm friendly with that show, very with the creators and all the actors on it.
I
So
just
I
thought
thought
it was so
it was
relatable. And we had we had Brad Garrett on about a month ago, and so I
yeah,
told him, I said, I was talking to his assistant, which is his wife Izzy, and I said, Izzy, we
right,
want Brad on for 7 o'clock. Now I'm so used to everybody knowing that I'm on the East Coast, so I'm like, it's
right.
7 o'clock, and we're like, wow, he's not here. So I emailed her. I didn't hear nothing. It's 3 hours later. Oh my God. But it
Oh
was so cool.
man,
What am I going to do? Yell at him? He's doing us a favor. But it turned out to be a great. He told a story, Willie, about the first season. I don't know if you ever heard this story about how there's somebody on this set had a flatulence problem, and Ray was getting pissed off because they'd be in the middle of rehearsals or shooting a scene, and this smell would come through. And
oh come
oh,
on.
I got to send you the clip of that show. He's like, everybody. So Brad Garrett says he's sitting down with Ray at the back lot having lunch, and he's like, "Let me ask you something." And Brad goes, "I swear to God, it's not me." He goes, "Well, it's fucking somebody." He's like, "Maybe it's Doris because she's been around since Gettysburg." And then Ray's like, "Oh, it's the kids." But for some reason, they never suspected Peter Boyle. So
And
they're doing a scene.
amazing.
Yes, they're doing a scene where they got to run into the kitchen, and they're off camera on this, and they're all huddled together. Now, Brad is huge, Ray is a big guy, and Peter Boyle, and you got Patty and Doris, who are two little. So
Right.
they're on set, they're waiting to get their cue. All of a sudden, the smell comes through, and Brad looks at Ray. Ray just holds his head down, and it's going like this, and then all of a sudden, I know you hear Peter Boyle go, "Sorry,"
Amazing.
and
Perfect.
then. And Ray goes, 9 months of this shit. He goes, this is crazy. This is dangerous. He goes, it gives farts a bad name. He goes, well, I got more bad news for you. I got two more coming. So Ray goes, how bad is your ass that you got two more coming? That was the
Oh,
funniest story I heard in a long time.
amazing. Amazing. I don't have any of those stories. I wish I had a good Sex in the City farting story or a white collar farting story. I
That would have
don't.
been front page.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
But
Well,
Willie,
page
you,
six,
you did
really.
300 TV shows. I mean, that's one hell of a working actor. Now,
It's
how
been
did
a
it
long
start
time.
for you?
It's
Yeah,
just. It's only because I'm elderly. That's all. It's just because I'm elderly.
how did it start for you that you knew you wanted to do this?
You know, I I know when I first acted, but I don't know when I realized. I probably didn't realize I could do this for real until college. But I did a play in like first grade, and
Hmm.
I loved it. For the same reason most people do at the top. It's just because the attention. I was a little kid, and everyone loved it, and then I did the plays in school, and then I got a job in New York at an off Broadway theater, um, playing a role that was very exciting. But there were three of us, three kids, and they rotated us performances
Right.
because it really didn't matter who played it. I think the kid had like three lines or something. Um, but so that was all great, and then I was acting and acting and acting, and it wasn't until about halfway through college when I thought, you know what, I think I'm going to actually try and do this like for real as an adult, and so I did, and I did.
And you caught the bug that early? Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
I got a message in our chat room from Steve Cooper. He said, "Who's the one that put us together?" He says to say
yeah. I don't
hello.
like him. I think he's shifty. There's something wrong with
Oh
him.
boy.
He got
So
out of New Jersey and he moved back.
I
That's
know, right? Once you get out, you're supposed to never come back
of course not.
unless
Yeah,
you're visiting relatives, and
that's
even
right.
then.
In a home. In a home.
So, I mean, by the way, I just wanted to let you know I'm a huge fan of White Collar. I thought that was a brilliant series. Your character was always, so shifty, but he knew his stuff. You couldn't get over on him. He was the go-to guy. I just love that character of Mozzie. How?
It's a great character. It was written so well. And then when we agreed for us to work together, they kind of kept rewriting it towards me. So it's the closest I've ever played to myself.
Oh,
And
so okay, that's what was going to be my next question. That
yeah,
was
and I got to write a lot of my lines, and I started directing on that show. It was very personal. That show was very personal to me. So
when you first got the I guess you had the audition and you read. What was your first reaction to the character?
well, it was I'll tell you the interesting situation. So Fox Studios, who produced the show, they asked me to do another show that shot in Colombia, and to do an episode of a show that they had that was made for the international market only, not for
Right.
the United States. And I went down to Colombia, to Bogota, and I shot it. And it was not a very good show, but I worked my hardest and I did the best I could with it. And when I got back, the executive at Fox said, "Hey, listen, we are doing a new show called White Collar. It's a companion piece to our hit show, Burn Notice. And I think you'd be right for this part. We loved you in Mental was a show in Colombia, and we'd love for you to take a look at it." And I looked at it, and the writing was so great. I was very excited about the idea. I was a little wary of the USA Network of it because I didn't know USA Network other than wrestling, really. I didn't know much about USA
Right.
Network.
Right.
They
You're
had
right.
wrestling. And I had been with HBO for so long, for like 15 years, that I was spoiled. So whatever. But here's the irony of this whole story. Then they made me fight like hell to get the job. Like
Oh wow.
I had to audition again and again and again. And it was a wonderful executive at NBC Universal, who owns USA. At my last audition, apparently, and it's been verified by a number of sources. Apparently, when I left the room, Mr. Jeff Wachtel, a dear friend, he stood up and said, "Listen, we could keep going and trying and finding and looking and whatever, but Willie Garson is like a warm blanket for the audience. Let's give them that blanket."
I like
so,
that. I
so
never heard that before. Yeah.
I always say to him, like, well, at least he didn't say wet blanket. Like I prefer warm blanket to wet blanket.
Right, right. Yeah. What the character of Mozzie? What when you first read about the character? What piqued your interest?
Well, here's the thing: you learn as an actor for a long time. You learn how to read pilots, and when I say that is pilots are generally populated by kind of stock characters. So it's, like in Sex and the City, like this one's the slut, this is the brainy one, here's the gay guy, whatever it is. And in White Collar, it was like, oh, here's the like anarchist guy, counterculture guy living on the fringe of society who doesn't trust anyone. That it's kind of like a stock character, the kind of societal dropout guy who works in the pilot. I don't know if you remember. No one really remembers because we never talked about it again. Mozzie works in a key store.
Right. Okay. Yes. Now you. Yeah.
And they found it's such an amazing location until they realized that they were going to have to shoot in it. But in New York City, it's a very famous building, and it's the smallest store anywhere. And I think it's 4 feet across and 10 feet deep in the middle of a building on the street. And so that was going to be the guy that Matt was going to go all the time and lean on the counter and talk to Mozzie to work out the cases. And he was going to give some quotes from, Bukowski or Kierkegaard or whatever, and help Matt find the case. But when they found the character was kind of gold, and I mean, I'll be more honest than I usually am. I don't know why, but
it's a Jersey thing.
I was just about to adopt my son, and I read the pilot script, and I thought, oh, this is great. This is like, I love the character. It's a cool weirdo. I love that. And he's going to work, a day, maybe 2 days an episode. And then I'm flying home to LA and I'm taking care of my new child. Well, when they shot the pilot, the character really leapt out and popped. And then all of a sudden, before I know it, I have this new child living in my home, and I'm working 6-7 days out of a 7-day episode.
Oh, wow.
Every week. So, I mean, it's a good problem to have, but I actually took the show for a couple of different reasons, and then was happy to find other reasons I loved it later. So
the diapers ain't cheap.
No, he was luckily not in diapers. He was 7.5, so that would have been a disaster if he was still in diapers.
One of the things I loved about Mozzie's character, he was always with the conspiracies. He, everything that he knew the answer to everything, and he, but when shooting the series as a whole, even though it was a hit, but when did the cast really feel that, hey, we have something here?
It's a good question. It was about midway through the second season. They wrote some episode that was about something so completely ridiculous. And we were joking about it and like making fun of the writers. And then we were like, you know what? They've created such full human characters with such full lives. We could solve the case of the missing Scotch tape dispenser, and it would be a fine episode. Where it didn't matter. They
didn't care. They did, yeah.
It didn't matter what the case was about, and that's what people were responding to. The human connection. People were responding to much more than the cases. When we would talk to fans and critics, it would be like, oh, the episode where Mozzie is sad because Peter makes him feel bad. It's like, well, what was the caper? Oh, we don't remember. But it was the episode, and that became like, we realized, oh, this is such a great combination of people living their lives together. Right. That any character on the show could at any time have a scene with any other character on the show.
Right.
And that's a rarity that's also about when we found out about our super fan, our number one super fan, who was President Clinton.
Oh,
And
really?
President Clinton, wherever he was on the planet, had to watch the new episode when it aired.
Oh, wow.
And so when we found out about that, we're like, okay, well, people are watching. You know,
You know, and that's man, you can't get a bigger super fan than that. But I think when it comes to people who watch TV, Neil Caffrey, you know, he was a bad guy, but he was a good guy, and everybody loves the bad guy. But deep down inside, he was, he did what he did, but he was a good guy at heart. And that's just fodder for audiences like that.
it's great. Also, I mean, it's not a trick, but it's a really good device that he's never stealing or hurting from someone who doesn't deserve it.
Right, right.
So
Like a
it's
Robin Hood, yeah,
everyone loves a Robin Hood story, and
yeah,
there should be there should be more of them and more of them in real life. What's glorious about Neil and Mozzie is that wherever the money is, or however much they have, or whatever they stole, it doesn't matter. It's the act of doing the job. That's the exciting part.
yeah.
So even Mozzie, like even if we're doing capers for the FBI,
Right.
he really doesn't care as long as he gets to still do capers.
Yeah, it's the journey. It's not
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly,
right.
exactly.
You know, you've done a lot of TV, like we were mentioning. Yeah, you did Hawaii Five O and the crossover character into Magnum PI. Now, a- as an actor, I know you. It's hard to say, but I was never a big fan of reboots. But I think Hawaii Five O pulled it off, and I think the new MacGyver is doing a really good job. Um, I just wanted to get your opinion on the. I think that is there not enough fresh writers in Hollywood to come up with an idea that they got to I just never understood that.
Well, it depends. It depends. I don't think you need to reboot something for the sake of rebooting it.
Right.
What you're doing, on a business standpoint, you have a built-in audience. Like so, oh, I want to at least check that out because I love the other one so much.
Right.
So that's a wise business decision. But I think what Hawaii Five O did very well is like, listen, there's a lot of crime. It's an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, so anyone can be there. So there's a lot of stories to tell. It's a sexy place
Right.
to be. It's a beautiful location. It's still a place, an aspirational location.
Right.
Everyone wants to go to Hawaii, even if it's once a week on a TV show.
Yeah.
So it made sense, and I think they did reinvent the wheel.
Right.
It's not the same as the other show. I feel the old show was definitely more maybe more psychological. The crimes,
Right. It wasn't as physical
right? And I feel it's a different time. But how do you update that and you're basically making a new show? I mean, you're not just like redoing scripts. And I think I think they did a really great job. What they did do, which shame on them, but God bless them for doing it. In my case, was they did steal liberally from Mozzie to create that character. I mean,
You're right.
you know,
Different name, right?
Mozzie was a great character. So
Right.
they wisely, what if there was a grifter who lived in Hawaii,
Right.
who's always trying to get it going, and but who isn't actually a bad guy? Like, what if we did that here on Hawaii? And listen, I was thankful for it. I was there off and on for 5 years. It's terrific, and hopefully I'll be back. Even with Hawaii Five-O gone, hopefully I'll be back on Magnum soon.
Yeah, like they pulled it off, and and what I think a lot of people, because I grew up in the '70s and '80s, so I'm partial.
Yeah.
I think everybody was going to have Tom Selleck on the brain and Jack
Right.
Lord, but I think they pulled it off with Alex, you know, because he's like a heartthrob. I think they pulled it off there. But like I said, it evolved. It got more physical, and you
Yep.
know, the whole thing of turning Higgins into a female, that was a fresh twist. So, and I think that's why
Yeah.
it's working.
Well, also you have to remember the TV audience is, you know, for example, I was developing a remake. I don't call it a reboot, but I was developing a new version of Courtship of Eddie's Father, based on my adoption of my Mexican American son. So, but we took the idea of Courtship of Eddie's Father and how do we update it? And one of the big selling points was the song, because everyone remembers the song from Courtship of Eddie's Father.
Right.
People, let me tell you about my best friend. So one of my dearest friends in life is a rock star named Elvis Costello.
Oh wow.
So I said to Elvis, you're going to do the song, obviously. So what do you want to do? You want to write a song? You want to do someone else's song? And he said, no, I'll do a version of that song,
Right.
because that song tells the story of the show,
Right.
and it's a great song. And here's the other thing, to 99.9% of the audience, that's going to be a new song.
Right. Right.
And that's what I feel about shows like Magnum PI. I mean, it's 90% of the audience did not watch Magnum PI because they're under 60.
Right.
Yeah. So,
But you're right though, Willie, because when you mentioned Courtship of Eddie's Father, Magnum PI, and Hawaii Five-O, the first three things that come to your head is the themes. They automatically, da 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 da,
yeah,
and the Magnum PI, and because when you say Courtship of Eddie's Father, the first thing that pops into my head is the song in the beginning, the intro.
absolutely, absolutely,
So
absolutely. But that song is almost like a country song, because it just tells the story right up. People, let me tell you about my best friend. He's my pride and joy. I mean, it's like, okay, that's the show.
Right. That's it in a nutshell. You don't have to change it. You just got to,
Yeah, like they say, country songs always tell the truth. Like, why is country music great? I'm not a huge country fan, but old classic country, country songs tell the truth. Has there ever been a better line written in a song than "I'm so lonesome I could cry"? You don't need to say anything else. That's
right.
that tells the
That's
entire
it, right?
story of the song and the human condition.
Right, right. So, Willie, let me ask you: take White Collar out of the mix.
Yeah.
Phenomenal TV show, and I'm sure that's probably up there as one of your best achievements on TV. But what else did you like doing on TV? I mean, you have over 300 credits. You've been in Mr. Belvedere. You go back. I mean, most of the stuff that we grew up watching, you were in at one point or another.
I mean, here's the thing. What generally for actors, especially character actors who jump around a lot, whatever you're doing at that time, that's your favorite one.
That's true. Yeah.
So you put it all into it. As far as I prefer the long running ones, obviously, because you don't have to do the misery of looking for a job,
right,
which is the worst part of this job. But I loved every minute of Sex and the City. It's the best. Sarah Jessica is one of my closest friends for 10 years before the show. So it was like a dream come true. Like we got to be together. We always joke. Both of us joke. If either one of us wasn't there, we'd be there anyway, visiting our friends. So that was a treat, and it was rich and expensive, and it was great. Just over the top, luxury. The whole job was luxurious. Before that, I loved NYPD Blue. Just because the writing was so exceptional.
Yeah, I used to love that show.
You really felt like an actor. Like you're acting your nuts off on that show. And that was great. What a great thing. And to work with Jimmy was like, a lesson in TV acting, in film, how to act for a camera.
Yeah,
There was a lesson standing next to him, and that was great. The one-offs are great. Some episodes of some shows are amazing. I love X-Files. I love The Luckiest Man Alive. That was an amazing episode that was written for me, actually.
Wow.
That was great. I was obsessed. I read an article about, and I don't want to offend any of your audience, probably a large part of your audience. I read. See, I'm winding it up here.
There you go.
I read an article about plushies and furries. Do you know what those are?
No.
People have an attraction to people in animal and mascot uniforms. And they have conventions. And
okay, all right.
And they rub each other, and they have things called a fur pile where they get on top. Whatever.
Oh wow!
I read an article.
To me. This is breaking news for me. Yeah,
I was obsessed with that. This was even a thing, and that this was real. And so my agent called me and said, and everyone knew it. I told everyone about this article. I'm like, did you read this? It's the crazy. It was in Vanity Fair. And it was an article about a guy who went to a convention, and he wrote about it. And conventions with like 10,000 people go.
Oh wow!
And they have sexual activity, never skin on skin, all in costume.
Oh wow!
And like a wolf is dominant to like a chicken. It's real, like a real thing.
Oh my God! Yeah.
So my agent called me and said, "I hope you're sitting down. You're playing a plushie." And CSI has written you an episode, and you're playing a plushie at a plushie convention in Las Vegas. And I'm like, you're making this up.
Were you a chicken or a wolf?
I was sexy kitty. I was a 6 foot tall electric blue cat with a outside the cat costume, a brassiere and a feather boa around my neck, and I spoke in a Southern woman's accent, like Blanche Dubois accent. Until they finally arrest me and they take my head off, and I refuse to take my head off and speak in my normal voice. And finally they're like, "Listen, you're under arrest," and I take it off, and I'm me, this bald guy with thick glasses. And I'm like, "Okay, you happy now? My name's Harvey. You think you think I get people to rub my stomach just every day?" Like,
oh my God! And people recognize you from that episode. No, that wasn't me. That was somebody else.
It's an amazing episode. Amazing. So sometimes the one-offs are great,
Oh yeah,
and memorable,
But let me ask you. I would imagine being an actor and working constantly, even if it's a one-off TV show, it's got to be great. Obviously you're working, you're making money. But did you ever, did you ever get to a point and say, look, I don't mind working, but can I get something a little bit more substantial for yourself? I mean,
you don't do every job that comes to you. I mean, you are picking. It does have some meter of taste of what you're willing and want to do, but some things like sometimes you read something like, this is not great, but the character is great.
Right.
And I've never played this before. Right. So I'd like to do that. Or you read something and it's so bad that it doesn't matter what the character is. What I generally like to do, a lot of actors, when they get a script, they immediately go to their part and see, oh, whatever, this is garbage. Oh, me, this is great. It's great. What I like to do, I like to read the script first. And then I go back and I look at the email and see which character? And like, oh, that's the guy. Yeah. I want to do that, or I want to at least try to get that part, or whatever it is. Like,
Right.
but yeah,
It,
there's a
the
listen.
character's got to interest you, though, right? It's got to have
The
something.
character has to interest me, and for me myself, I do like them to be uh, as different
Right.
as they can be. I mean, it's there's only so many different kinds of people I can play, but I do like them to be somewhat different. They say people get typecast. That's what a lot of
Yeah.
civilians say, that people are typecast. But you're the one who typecast yourself. You don't have to do that job.
Right. You could always say no.
You don't have to do the next job. Certainly, when Sex and the City became very popular, every script with a flamboyant character was on my desk. I could do it again and again and again, and I could have made a fortune doing it again and again and again. But that's your prerogative. Like, I'm not going to do it again with writing that is as good as what I'm doing already on Sex and the
Right.
City.
Right.
So I just said no. I won't play that again. I played it already.
See, that's smart for you because a lot of people, they're afraid to, and nothing against that, but a lot of people are afraid to say no because then they think once
Well,
you say no,
well, you also feel. I mean, actors are insecure for good reason, as they should be. That this is my last job,
right, right,
which we see. It happens all the time.
yeah,
Whatever happened to that guy? And the truth is, if it's something you like and you respond to, you're going to go after it hard. You're going to go after it, getting that job. And
right,
I always say, I really went after NY hard. I think I had 10 auditions. I
oh
would have
wow,
gone after Gil. I would have gone in just as hard if that was being cast at that time.
oh
And the
wow,
reality is, you never know what you're going to get. If you're lucky, I've been really lucky. I've gotten classy things. But I mean, if you're a producer and you're hiring actors, are you going to hire Bob Denver to play anything other than a guy on a boat for the rest of his life? You're not.
right,
Second Gilligan walks in, that's Gilligan.
yeah,
He spent. By the way, he spent the rest of his life
yeah.
doing boat shows.
Essentially, being that character, yeah,
That's what he did for a living. He was a guest at boat shows. He had a fine life, very happy, made a lot of money, but he wasn't an actor anymore.
Mm. Now, when you told me earlier that when you had an audition for White Collar, like it was like a grueling process. They made you jump through hoops. Were you almost at the point where like, all right, that's it. Either you want me or you don't, or you just hung in there.
It's funny you say that. I've only done that once. No, I hung in there, but I was on the phone every night to Tim DeKay, who played Peter Burke, who's a dear friend of mine. I was on, and he was going through the process as well, but he was already in the deal making process when I was still reading. And every night I was calling him like, what are they doing to me? Why are they doing this? And he's like, well, I'm hearing they really like you. Apparently, Jeff Easton, who created the show, this is what he says was the final nail in my being hired, was they were reading even more people for Mozzie. They read about 1 billion people.
Oh
They're
wow,
reading even more people. And on a day when I was reading again as well. And one of the actors went into the office and said in the room to the producer writer who he had just met, he said, I have no idea what I'm doing standing in here because Willie Garson is out there in the waiting room. And that's who should be playing this part.
oh wow.
And he just needed to hear it from a civilian, not from an executive.
What were they? What were they being nitpicky about the part? They were looking for.
No, it's just indecisive. People get nervous. I mean, you're not casting for a 1 week job. You're
Yeah,
casting for 7 years.
yeah,
That's the goal.
longevity, right?
So it's a marriage. It really is a marriage.
Right.
Some people cast pilots like they're at the the Quickie Wedding Chapel in Las Vegas, and then
At the
they
Elvis
end up
Presley
having to
chapel.
replace people, or
Yeah,
someone's really bad on the show, or whatever.
yeah.
Some people take it more seriously.
Well, that makes sense. You have to, you're looking for longevity. You're not looking for, you know. I've been reading a lot, seeing a lot that LA is starting to open up. They're starting to start production again. Um, I mean, how did you handle this COVID? And like, did you have anything that was interrupted before this whole
No,
thing happened?
I finished about 2 weeks before, but I was sick. I'm pretty sure I had it. So
Oh wow,
this is like mid to late February, and I was up doing. I do this show Supergirl. I was in Vancouver,
right.
and I finished and came home, and I think it was 3 or 4 days later when they stopped production up there. Um, but none of us knew how long this was going to be, how we were going to knock it down. I don't mind giving my personal opinion. We didn't have the greatest national response to this, so that has not helped the situation. Um, but it is what it is. We're going to get through it.
Hmm.
We just have to be patient, and it's devastating. But we're actually the people who are most complaining about it are not generally the people who are most devastated by it. We've been spoiled,
Right.
and I liken it. This must be. I can only imagine uh, being in wartime, uh, living in like London,
Yeah.
and they started bombing, and everyone thinking, well, when is this shit going to end? And it being 4 years later, and it finally ends. So those people were not spoiled. We are spoiled,
Yeah.
and we'll work through it. I mean, the idea that probably December, January, February, they're going to start vaccinating people this quickly is kind of amazing, and it
Yeah.
is going to happen. The J&J one is very promising, and now they're expand. I can say that because I'm from New Jersey, but they're expanding the testing of it, and it's going really well.
Yeah.
And but people were not wrong. Science was not wrong.
Well,
Certainly,
we were ground zero here for a while, and it's
yeah,
starting to loosen up. They opened up everything, but New York, man, I don't know what's on their mind. They're starting to get clusters again of all
yeah.
these cases, and you have certain ethnic groups that they are going to convene no matter what, and we have it here in Lakewood, New Jersey, too. They don't care. They'll 200, three
Well,
hundred people weddings.
that's more. I mean, I can speak on this topic. That's more almost a bridge too far for some of the communities. It's almost like we've been marginalized for so long with angry white people telling us what to do, and now they're going to tell us this. So
Mhm.
that's really what that is. It's not like it's just like we can't take it anymore. We can't
Yeah,
take it.
but all their top leaders were dying and they're still convening. I mean, it's only about their safety. You know what I'm saying? But I understand
Yeah,
what you're saying about how they've been, you
just
know,
feeling marginalized and like just a bridge too far. Another thing that the man is throwing on top of us. I do feel. I mean, what is New York making the move now? There were $1,000 fines or something. I
well, they're
read.
going to be fining people
Yeah,
and, a lot, in some areas in New Jersey now, there's like a case here, a case there. Now they opened up the schools. Now I think they're going to go back to remote learning. I see it all
right.
reversing itself.
I mean, here's the reality. People just have to wear masks. It's so silly that anyone has made a football out of the mask situation. Is so silly. People, if we wear masks, the numbers will go down.
Yeah,
Period.
it's so simple. It's so.
It's so simple.
Yeah. Even
Um,
on Facebook, you see all these people arguing. If it's not because you want to protect yourself. It should be, I don't like wearing it. Don't get me wrong, but it should be a no brainer to self preservation.
not self, for others, for others. I mean, listen, my kid, if my kid gets COVID, he's going to be fine. But if he comes home and gives it to me, I might not be.
Right. Right.
So it's not just self-preservation. It's about humanity.
Right. Well, but
So
if you take the
people have to really take a hard look, whatever they believe politically. And as you know, I have my opinions. Whatever you believe politically, it's about your humanity. It's not about your political leaning. It's about your humanity. How many people is acceptable to you as a human to get sick and pass away? How many people? For me, it's not one more. Some people could be. Some people could really be like 10.
no, one is too many. You know,
Somebody could say 10 would be fine. But you have to look at your own humanity and take any political leanings you have out of the picture. It's about your humanity.
it really is. You know, and
Yep.
what I meant by the self-preservation, if you take the time to make sure that you're protected, you're also looking out for others because then if
You're literally protecting everyone that you're coming in contact with.
right, so and they may, it's just classic stuff that everything gets blown out of proportion, and then they throw stuff into the mix that doesn't even belong there.
Yep.
You
I
know.
mean, I have a family member now who has it. A kid. She's gonna be
Oh
fine.
wow.
She's gonna be fine. But went to college on the Instagram the first day with 5, 6 other girls out at a restaurant with their arms around each other, cavorting, and guess what? They all have it now.
Oh wow.
Shocking, but it's
And
not shocking. It's wearing a
no,
mask.
they're young. They want to get out. People are getting cabin fever. I get that. And what scares me now is that in like May and June, you saw these hospitals. They're overcrowded, but now it seems like it's weird. It seems like this virus went like undercover because now people have got it and they don't even realize they've got it.
Well,
Whereas
that's the good part of it because while the numbers are horrifying, the rolling
right,
numbers that we see, but the reality is that people are getting it less violently.
right, the
So
strain
they're
is not
getting a
as
lesser
much.
strain because many people are obviously wearing masks,
Right,
and are not. Even someone who's not wearing a mask is somewhere in the back of their miserable mind. They're not sneezing and coughing all over you.
yeah,
So the strain. So people are getting lighter. It's basically just science. If someone coughs on you and you breathe a full mouth load of it, you're going to get it pretty bad if that person has it.
right,
If you're wearing a mask and they're not, you're going to get it a little less.
right, right. At least you had some kind of
Yeah,
filter up, yeah.
yeah.
But well, you know what, Willie, I know as hard as you work, you're anxious to get back out and start doing stuff, and
You ain't
I,
kidding.
I couldn't thank you more, and I appreciate. I know you're like I said. I know you're all zoomed out, and I just want to let you know something that our show goes out to American Forces Network, and you know,
I was gonna speak on that. I was gonna
yeah.
speak on that.
Okay, just give me. I just want to throw this out there for you. You know, especially we did a MASH reunion last night with Loretta Swint and Jamie Farr, and one of the guest hosts is a big supporter of our show. It was Lieutenant General Jerry Martinez. He's a retired 3-star Air Force general. He was the commander for the U.S. forces in Japan, and I always stress this to our celebrities and our guests that characters like Mozzie and all the Mr. Belvedere and Hawaii Five O, those men and women who are in forward areas, they don't have much. They have radio and TV, for that hour a day or that 2 hours a day that
Yep.
they can watch a show and forget where they are because the bottom could drop out on them in any minute. I just
Yep.
want you to realize how important it is that characters, your work on TV makes them, it brings them to a safe place and they feel like they're home for even if it's for a few
Yep.
minutes. So
Yep.
on behalf of them, I wanted to thank you.
Well, thank you for having this and giving this outlet. I did want to speak on that a little bit. I know that you're aligned with Armed Forces Radio, and we have people all around the planet who, no matter what's going on, no matter what nonsense is happening, are actually duty bound by choice to keep us safe and carry ideals that of decency and kindness and openness to the world, and also keep us protected and think about people other than themselves. That's an unbelievably important thing. We don't get to speak to these people very often,
Right.
and they're in far-flung locations. And I personally know what we do means to them. This is, it was kind of, as a character actor, it was a big maturing. After 9/11, I usually can't tell. I was never good at telling when people were approaching me on the street. I could never guess. I would try to guess what project they were coming to talk to me about. But after 9/11, I could spot it 200 feet away. If someone was starting to approach me, and 99% I'm right. Their partner and them watched Sex and the City every Sunday night, and their partner died in Tower 1 or whatever.
Oh, wow.
And I realized then it was a real growing up as an actor. I realized this shit is important. We're giving people a gift, and it's an honor. It's an honor to do it. What we do has meaning to people.
Absolutely.
And gives them comfort, warmth, joy, laughter, tears, inspiration. Whatever it is, it's giving them something. So to the men and women serving the armed forces, you're giving us something every day. And it's our honor to give something back to you. So thank you for doing this.
It's more than you know that they appreciate it. And I just wanted to make sure that I reiterated that. But Willie, you're a Jersey boy. If you ever come to Tom's River, please look us up. I want you, and I mean,
what, am I going to prison? No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry.
My mother will cook meatballs for you. Forget about it.
You're talking.
But I really want to tell you that if you ever need anything, if you got something coming up, you shoot me an email. You have an open door, my friend.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
I know. I want to just before you go, could you do me one small favor?
Sure.
Can you do a liner for me?
Yep. Go ahead.
Basically, you'll introduce yourself and say you're listening to Animal House Radio.
Okay. Hey there. It's Willie Garson here, and you're listening to Animal House Radio with Carlo Wild Thing Bellario.
Thank you so much, Willie. God bless. Please stay safe. And like I said, anytime you're in the area, let me know. You have anything you got coming up, you just let me know. We'll put it out there.
I wish I was flying to New Jersey tomorrow, but it's not allowed.
I hear you. But stay safe and God bless, Willie. Thank you for your time.
Be good. Thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye.